Are these behaviors of men all signs of cheating? What is more alarming than cheating is that you don't understand his heart at all. Hello, everyone. I am Cherry. Whenever we talk about cheating, a topic that often comes up is how to identify whether a man has cheated by his behavior. Countless women are eager to master the secrets of exposing cheating men and want to be able to quickly determine whether their husbands, minds, or another women through a little clue, such as whether they will look at their mobile phones behind your back. Have their working hours suddenly become longer and their social activities increased? They suddenly start to love beauty, care about dressing and fitness. They are unwilling to let go of any clues and are eager to know what are the symptoms of cheating men. I can understand the feelings of this type of women, but I still have to say it is better to know the heart than to catch the adultery. Only focusing on the behaviors that can be seen with the naked eye and not figuring out the deep reasons behind the behavior, no matter how many tricks you learn, it is only a temporary solution, not a fundamental solution. It will only make you exhausted in speculation and suspicion again and again, which is tantamount to wasting time playing eagle catches chicken with men. When you focus too much on the details, you will make the mistake of magnifying the small things but ignore the more important questions. Why does cheating happen? What kind of psychological needs or emotional deficiencies will drive a person to choose to betray his partner? The various behaviors of cheating men are never to please the third party, but to satisfy. Cheating is not just a mistake that all men make. It is more like a cold mirror, ruthlessly reflecting the flaws deep in one's heart and the imbalance in the relationship between husband and wife. These complex and subtle contents cannot be interpreted by you remembering a few tips of cheating men will do this. If you only focus on the surface and do not explore the hidden meaning behind the behavior in depth, you will take the delusion as the truth and miss the truth in the relationship. It's like when you see that the leaves on a tree are all withered, decayed, and tattered, you can certainly confidently declare, I can see that this tree is already dead and withered. There is nothing wrong with this, but if you mistakenly think that such cognition is everything, you will be further and further away from the essence and true knowledge. You arbitrarily judge the growth of the whole tree from the leaves, but you can't tell what exactly caused all this. Is it because the roots can't breathe due to frequent watering, and the leaves wither, or is it because the roots are burned by too much fertilizer, concentration needs to be adjusted, or is it because of the external pests and diseases, and you need to prune in time? If you can't find a root cause of the problem, you can't prescribe the right medicine and cure the disease. You can only treat the symptoms and the symptoms repeatedly. In the end, you are tired but helpless. On the other hand, human behavior is ambiguous and is usually driven by multiple psychological motivations and external situations at the same time, rather than pointing to a specific root cause. Equating some of a man's behaviors directly with cheating is a way of thinking that oversimplifies complex human problems. It is neither scientific nor fair. It is very easy to lead to misjudgment, trigger unnecessary suspicion and conflict, and not only fail to solve the problem, but also make the already fragile relationship worse. For example, when a man becomes irritable and impatient with you, it may not be because his tenderness is given to another woman, but it may also be because he is under pressure from other aspects. Some men are in a career bottleneck period, being excluded by colleagues or being sabotaged by their leaders. Out of self-esteem, with thinking that their partners are powerless, they will not speak out about their work distress. But the resulting anxiety may reduce their investment in the family. If they are misunderstood as cheating at this time, they will only feel more desperate for their family. For example, whether it is often looking at the phone or changing the style of clothing, there can be other reasons besides cheating. Think about it. Don't you also have a time when you hold your phone all day because you are addicted to short dramas, games, etc., and suddenly decide to change your image? If you have inherent suspicion and look for evidence that meets the presumption of guilt, like a judge observing a criminal suspect, and unnecessarily exaggerate ordinary details, your partner will feel wronged that no matter what I do, I will be misunderstood. If the other party has indeed cheated, then your actions will only alert the enemy. If the other party is indeed innocent, then he will be like the loyal ministers who were only accused in history, trusted but suspected, loyal but slandered. How can he not feel resentful? One-sided suspicion will weaken the relationship, causing both parties to fall into psychological defense and confrontation, and the two hearts will become farther and farther apart. You project your own anxiety onto the behavior of your partner and overinterpret ordinary actions, which may make the situation you fear become a reality. I can understand that you are so eager to get a certain sense of control in the relationship. You want to independently uncover the truth through observation and analysis, protect yourself from being hurt, and relieve your inner anxiety. But the intimate relationship belongs to the two of you, and your every move will inevitably tug at the heartstring of the other person and then affect the entire family system. So it's not that you can't care about what your partner does, but you also need to adjust your way of interpretation so that all this is not limited to holding a magnifying glass to find small loopholes in the other party, but becomes a process of understanding your partner. Think of him as a mystery waiting for you to explore, not an obstacle that must be ruthlessly destroyed. In other words, you need to avoid single attribution and don't rush to attribute everything to the most negative possibility. You need to pay attention to the overall pattern. Don't miss the big picture and only focus on a certain isolated behavior. You should put communication before speculation. When you are confused about your partner's behavior, don't secretly fishing for law enforcement to try to verify the hypothesis. You can communicate directly to understand the other party's status and changes. You also need to pay attention to your own emotional projection. When you are particularly sensitive to some behaviors, it is likely that you are insecure. Many times your anxiety comes from past experiences, not your partner's current behavior. On the premise of making these ideological and psychological preparations, it is meaningful to talk about how to observe the behavioral signs of men. What you need to do is not only to monitor and control abnormal behavior, but also to see the other person's inner needs and desires through the appearance of behavior, turning into a workaholic. A man who is not so concerned about his career suddenly becomes extremely devoted to work, and from time to time he excuses himself to work overtime or go on a business trip and not go home or even stay. After returning home, he rarely takes the initiative to communicate, and when asked, he is busy. This inevitably makes women suspicious, suspecting that he is not working overtime for a proper reason, but is actually focusing his energy on other women and even distrusting his female colleagues. In this situation, work plays the role of a man's safe haven, a safe zone to escape intimacy. Even if he really has an undue affection for a female colleague, the other party may not be tempting him with the charm of a woman, but more likely as a symbol of completely irrelevant to the family. Men who behave in this way are often trying to escape some kind of pressure or responsibility in an intimate relationship. Marriage and partnerships are always accompanied by some vague and heavy responsibilities, the emotional needs of the wife, the trouble of poor communication, financial constraints. When a man feels that these are beyond his ability to bear, work becomes a convenient excuse. At the same time, it also provides something completely different from marriage and family, with clear rules, a sense of accomplishment in completing work tasks, and a sense of control after becoming proficient in business, etc., which are more attractive than the challenges of managing a marriage. Men cheating under the pretext of work or just to escape from your small family all show that his needs are actually to find self-worth in a controllable environment, temporarily get rid of the frustration in marriage, avoid dealing with complex emotional problems, and use business to numb himself and deliberately avoid facing the contradictions in the relationship. Image transformation, another often unmentioned characteristics of cheating, makes men suddenly interested in dressing up and fitness. Like a peacock trying to spread its tail, they start to try fitness, skincare, buy new clothes of different styles, and ask only to recommend a hairstyle that makes them look younger. They become sensitive to the evaluation of their appearance. They don't like others to say that they look old, and want to hear others praise them for being handsome and graceful. At first, women sneered at his futile efforts. Why do you still toss about these things when you are an old couple? No matter how much you paint an old cucumber green, it will not look good. But men are not hit by their words, and still do not give up on their image transformation, which makes women feel a little unhappy and confusion if you are not dressing up for me. And which little fairy outside is it for? Is there something going on outside? It is undeniable. It is a manifestation of mediocre, and manifestation of many are manifestation of middle age. Appearance is a mirror of self-cognition. When he looks at himself in the mirror every day with a receding hairline and white hair on his forehead, he will also realize that his physical condition is not as good as before, and he will have anxiety about the passage of time. My life has passed nearly half, and my future will still be like this until the day I die. Driven by this mentality, men want to reconfirm their attractiveness and prove that they are still worthy of attention. They also want to escape the unsatisfactory feeling of life is going downhill and seek a sense of rebirth to make themselves feel younger and more energetic. Rather than saying that they really want the look of a young girl, it is better to say that men want to confirm that they are not really old and have not become dust forgotten by the times. Attitude fluctuates. Some men will become volatile in their attitude towards their partners, sometimes being cold and bored, sometimes being romantic for no reason or overcompensizing. When a woman is sure that she has not done anything to deserve the other party's change of attitude, it is natural to suspect that this is just the aftermath of being with someone else. Either he is tired of falling in love with another woman, or he gave her a gift for another woman. This elusive performance actually reveals the contradictions in men's hearts. They project their self-contradictions into intimate relationships. They are now disappointed with this relationship, but they still have some expectations. They have both long-term love and gradually accumulated dissatisfaction. These incompatible emotions are intertwined, making it impossible for them to treat their partners with a stable and consistent attitude. They feel suppressed and dissatisfied in marriage, but they don't know how to express their emotions and needs, so they turn this depression into alienation, and at the same time they have emotional fluctuations and unstable attitudes due to guilt. In many cases, this state of man will indeed develop into the final betrayal. This is actually conveying a silent message. I have some problems in the relationship, but I don't know how to express it, and I don't know if it will get better or worse after I express it. The man's behavior seems to be directed at you, but it actually reflects his own internal contradictions and conflicts. You see, no matter which kind of behavior a man shows, it is affected by the multi-dimensionality of complex psychological situations, and it is not necessarily a sign of cheating. Simply judging it as betrayal will only magnify the friction between you. Only through observation, communication, and understanding can you find a solution. Identifying these external manifestations is not to doubt or accuse or to judge the other party as a criminal suspect, but to understand the other party's situation more deeply and to understand yourself and see this relationship more clearly. Instead of rushing to judge, it is better to listen quietly and see.